Do you recommend counting, or is that a mantra?
Counting until you're able to stay stably on the breath. Counting is a very useful tool, but it's limited. If you count too long, then your mind wanders and you keep on counting at the same time. Because there are all these different mental processes, one mental process can say, okay, well, I'll take care of the counting, and the others will say, well, good, I'll take care of the thinking and the mind wandering and the what's for dinner. Right? So the way to use counting, I think it's really good every time you sit down to count the first 10 breaths. Because in a way you're conditioning your mind, it sort of lets the whole collective know that, okay guys, we're getting ready to meditate, counting's happening. Count your first 10 breaths. And start over as many times as you have to until you get to 10. And then, once you've gotten to 10, try following the breath without counting. If you find your mind's if you've got a lot of monkey mind going on, go back to counting the breath. But, do the same thing. Start over as many times as you need to until you've had 10 consecutive breaths, and then see if you can go without the counting. Doesn't matter how many times you go back to the counting, but what you'll find is that the counting it just loses its value and effectiveness past a certain point, and that's why the rule is usually to limit yourself to counting 10 breaths. Okay, but you can use that as much as you need to. The other thing that you can use, if you're still in a stage of the practice where you're finding it difficult to stay on the breath, is after you've finished counting, then you can start saying to yourself things like beginning, end, or just in-breath, out-breath, in-breath, out-breath. You can use that sort of talking to yourself to help you stay with it. But the same thing, that's only going to be helpful on a temporary basis, and you're always trying to move beyond that where you don't need those sorts of aids anymore. Even if you start labeling in, out, or in, middle, out, pause, in, middle, out, pause, or something like that, there is still a tendency, after some point, one part of your mind will take over reciting the words, but your conscious awareness is going to be focused on, other things. So these things are all helpful, and use them. Some people are more visual rather than verbal. More visual than verbal. And so they might find it useful to project some sort of mental image, something expanding or contracting or rising and falling or some shape unfolding that corresponds to the breath, and that helps to keep them on it for a while. And it's very similar to using the labels. It can help you initially, and your mind can also find a way to let it happen without really following the breath. You're just trying to get to that place where you can stay on the breath. And the important things about that are that you don't ever let yourself get stressed, annoyed, have expectations. Just accept the fact that you're going to have to recognize that your mind has wandered, and you're going to have to bring it back to the breath some unknown number of times before you achieve perfect concentration. So just think of it this way. Each time your mind wanders and you bring it back, that's one more that you can cross off. One less time that you're going to have to do it. And don't worry about the fact that it keeps happening, because it will happen, and then it will gradually stop happening.